Hi, I'm Courtney Pache, your friendly neighborhood collections technician for the Human History Department at the Manitoba Museum. Usually when we see each other, I'm in storage, but today I'm here in the galleries to talk to you all about Madame Taro's room, one of my favorite exhibits at the museum, and one that I recently had the chance to revamp. So let's take a look. This room is filled with artifacts. We have well over 250 objects that are part of our history collection that we've added to this space to really dress it up and make you feel like you're in the room of a working woman in the 1920s. In a lot of the vignettes like this that you see at the museum, we tend to occasionally pad it out with a few props. One really interesting thing about Madame Taro's room is that I only used artifacts to pad out this room, which is just a really beautiful way for us to be able to use all of the wonderful artifacts at our disposal. Over here on the vanity, we have tons of examples of makeup and toiletries and other self-care items that women would have been using in the 1910s into the early 1920s. We have great examples of foundation and even nail polish from this time period. We also have some really interesting pieces on the wall behind me here, including these fans and then also an astrological chart. These are all part of our collection and we pulled them out of storage and our awesome conservator mounted them for me so that we could put them on the wall, sort of dress up the space and make it really sophisticated for Madame Taro, who's right behind me. This particular exhibit opened in the 1970s when we initially opened our then urban gallery. Madame Taro tells fortunes. However, at the onset, she actually had a crystal ball to do her work. During the revamp, I swapped that out and I added the tarot deck that we can see here. Madame Taro is also a really interesting mannequin choice. We really talked a lot about what we wanted for her when we replaced all the mannequins in this gallery. Madame Taro needed to be old enough that she would have been able to afford a lot of the luxuries that we see in this room, including all those self-care items and the furnishings. She also needed to be a little bit culturally ambiguous. We're in the north end of the city. There was a lot of different people living and working here. And a lot of the women that were working in this community also came from a variety of places. A few of the new elements that we added to this space include a gramophone. So Madame Taro would be able to play music while she was entertaining her clients. The records that I chose to put on display, although you can't see them from the door, are still authentic to the late 1910s and early 1920s. We also have this great four-poster brass bed, and if you peek inside the closet, you can see a lot of garments and other items that Madame Taro would have worn while she was out and about in the community. The last thing I want to draw your attention to are some of the other less exciting self-care items. So we're moving away from makeup and we're talking about things like hygiene. So up top above her wardrobe, we can see a pitcher and a basin, which she would be using for bathing purposes. And then hidden below her bedside table, we have the elusive chamber pot. Madame Taro's room may or may not have included shared washroom accommodations. Likely she would have been using a privy outside, and so a chamber pot would have been essential for any late night washroom breaks that she might need. Thank you so much for joining me for a look behind the plexiglass here at the Manitoba Museum.